So in this chapter, it's the way to the further shore. It's the Parai Yanavagga. And of course, well, of course you would, of course, know, but as some of you might know, I do love a good story. And the probably commentarial story added to it, the introductory story and the epilogue story are just wonderful. And so I want to just share that briefly, the kind of context of what we'll be talking about. There was a really good Brahmin, really ethical, pure-hearted Brahmin who had a certain amount of revenue from a nearby town, and he used that money to make a huge sacrifice. And many people came, many Brahmins were given a lot of gifts and had a big feast. And he gave away everything. Like he really was living a very kind of renunciate life. He gave away all of it. And when all was done, a very dirty, thirsty Brahmin, covered in dust from the road, footsore, came up and said, I want to share from this feast. Give me 500 pieces of money. And the hosting Brahmin said, I gave it all away. Well, this guy didn't believe him. He said, give it to me or I will curse you. There's nothing he could do. There was nothing to give. So the angry Brahmin made an official, like he did a whole setup and made like an elaborate curse that this guy's head would shatter in 7 days. And then the angry Brahmin went away, and the nice Brahmin, the good Brahmin, was shaken by this. He was really disturbed about it. He could barely eat. He was wasting away. And the deity took pity on him and went to him and said that, to the effect of, oh, that guy's just a fake, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know how to shatter your head or anything about shattering a head or any of this. And the Brahmin said, well, does anyone know about what is the head and how a head is shattered? And the deity said, well, I don't know, but there is one who would know, and that would be the Buddha. And then the Brahmin, when he heard the word Buddha, awakened one, he was very thrilled. Where is this person? Where is this wonderful being? Well, very, very far away. So he gathered his 16 students, or 16 of his students. Anyway, he gathered 16 students, very great ascetics, each of them famous in their own right, wearing antelope hides, and very ascetic practitioners. And he gathered them and he told them of the existence of the Buddha, asked them to go to him with his question and perhaps ask whatever questions they have. So they traveled a very great distance and tracked down the Buddha. And so anyway, I'm not going to get into the whole story. It's a great story, though. Each of them ended up asking a question to him. And when the Buddha answered each Brahmin's question, as the man's question was answered, he attained enlightenment. He also answered the question of the teacher, and one of them, who did not gain full enlightenment but close, he carried the message back to the teacher, and then after that gained full enlightenment himself. So this is actually some of the Sutta Nipata is kind of apocryphal, not really regarded very highly by scholars, but this last chapter, these questions, this question and answer session with the Buddha, this is very deep stuff. Some of it kind of goes over my head, but what doesn't go over my head is clearly quite profound. And so there's a reference to there was a laywoman who would chant this whole chapter every morning. She was a contemporary of the Buddha, one of his students, I mean, when he was still alive. So this may have been kind of early in his teaching and was famous among the disciples, even during the Buddha's life. So now I just wanted to zero in on one of the questions. So, okay, so we're going to look at the questions of Bhadravada. Each of them had very beautiful, poetic, well, it's all poetry, with some narrative, so it's a beautiful poetic way of speaking to the Buddha. They all spoke to him very highly respectfully, in just very lofty words, praise of the Buddha, respectfully listening, asking him, and then listening, rapt to his answers, which is always a good thing to do if you want to actually benefit from the teachings, to be quite rapt and just wholeheartedly in it. Who would like to read? Anybody?
I can read.
Go for it.
I have a request for you, the shelter leaver, the craving cutter, the imperturbable, said Venerable Bhattara Vuda, the delight leaver, the flood crosser, the freed, the formulation leaver, the intelligent. Many people have gathered from different lands, wishing to hear your word, O hero. After hearing the spiritual giant, they will depart from here. Please, sage, answer them clearly, for truly you understand this matter.
Who would like to read next?
All right, I can.
Go for it, Das.
Dispel all craving for attachments, replied the Buddha. Above, below, all around, between, for whatever a person grasps in the world, Mara pursues them right there.
And who would like to read the last paragraph?
I read. So let a mindful mendicant who understands not grasp anything in all the world, observing that in clinging to attachments, these people cling to the domain of death.
Okay, thank you. So we'll skip now the beautiful way of questioning, and we'll go into the Buddha's answer, and in multiple translations, because this is obviously very it's very deep.
The Buddha: subdue craving and grasping all above, below, across, in between, for whatever people cling to in the world, it is through that Mara pursues them. So a monk, mindful, seeing these people entangled in grasping, as entangled in death's realm, should cling to nothing in all the world, every world.
For somebody's, I don't know who, Nidesa 2's discussion of the various meanings of the objects of craving, above, below, across, in between. See this note. Okay. It's going to kill the share screen, but I'll click. Oh, can you still see? Maybe Zoom has improved. Okay, so the Nidesa 2 gives 6 different valid interpretations for above, below, across, and in between. So this is subduing all craving, grasping, whether any of these. Okay. So it could refer to in time, above being the future, below being the past, across and in between being the present. It could be literal in location, above being the Deva world, below being hell, across and in between being the human world. This one sounds like an Abhidhamma approach, above being skillfulness, below being unskillfulness, across and in between being indeterminate mental qualities. And then this fourth option, above being the property of formlessness, below being the property of sensuality, and across and in between being the property of form. So I think that would mean like the sense sphere realm, okay, so below being sense sphere realm, across in between property of form. Okay, never mind.
Is this Vivava, like the different types of craving, like craving for
Craving in all these locations, any craving in any location. But I was thinking this was referring to the various spheres that relate to levels of meditation, but I'm not quite able to bring that home from that list. So we'll move on. Another option being above being feelings of pleasure, below being feelings of pain, across and in between neutrality, feelings of neither pain nor pleasure nor pain. And then another option is above the body from the feet on up, below the body from the crown of the head on down, and across and in between the middle of the body. So that was interesting. Okay, so dispel all craving for attachments. Any thoughts on what craving for attachment would be as opposed to plain craving? Craving for attachment.
Well, I suppose could be like craving for attachments in a sense that it can give people directions, like it's something we are used to. The idea of being without it, that's scary. Oh, finally, it reminded me what I read today in a book, that often when people are scammed by someone, it's often because they really wanted to believe in it. Like, like someone tries to, how's the word? Maybe like hoodwink you, and it sounds good. It's like you really want to believe it. If it makes sense.
I like that approach. Thank you. Well, I'm sitting with it. I'm seeing it as craving for all those things to which one is attached. So I'm just seeing the meaning a little bit differently, but that was a great read. Thank you, Dallas. So dispel all craving for that which one is attached. Above, below, all around, and in between. So this above, below, all around, and in between, we just read a list of possible meanings of that. What do you think?
I mean, this is all the directions. So it's like, that's the world, north, south, east, west, zenith, and nadir. So in all directions, and dispel craving for attachments. To me, I mean, I saw the list, but to me, that's just like, here's your limiting. This is what you're limiting to. Any point, a coordinate in space in the world, rather than being limitless. And so that's where you're going to find Mara. I don't know if I just went completely beyond it and even answer the question, but that's how I'm seeing this. This is the world, the cosmos.
I'm not sure about that last part about drawing it together to Mara in that sense, but I'm absolutely agree with you that above, below, all around, in between, above, below, and all around is how we're supposed to radiate metta in the Metta Sutta, right? Above, below, around, and everywhere. The between, not sure what it adds once you've already said all around, but I am seeing this because I really appreciate that phrasing in the Metta Sutta as being another way of describing the 10 directions. The zenith, the nadir, and northeast, northeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, west, northwest, north, like all around, in like a clockwise sort of way. So above, below, around, all around, in between. I'm gonna take it, like you said, Michael, as being just anywhere whatsoever in this world. But all of those other options are still out there. Anybody want to make an argument for any of these other options? That list?
I feel like the list, you could almost interpret the list as just every single one of them would be exhaustive of all craving, right? So kind of whatever one you took, I just see it as being exhaustive, like all of the craving.
Sadhu. That is the point, isn't it? You're right. That's absolutely it. Thank you, Robert. Sadhu, sadhu. And then for whatever a person grasps in the world, Mara pursues them right there. On the off chance that anyone does not know about this business of Mara, Mara is the evil one. In Buddhism, all of the various characters that we encounter in the whole cosmology are their positions. They're not like a permanent state. So Mara, the evil one, is a being that eventually, has a limited lifespan, eventually passes, and then there's another Mara. But here, I think Mara is being referred not to that individual being, but more the concept of the impact of the horrors that follow from everything we open ourselves up to when we grab onto anything. It's kind of like the the image of somebody getting their sleeve caught in a factory, and then the person is dragged through all of the machinery. And if it's a cartoon, they end up like canned. And if it's not a cartoon, they end up in extreme disaster. Whatever particle of clothing is grabbed by the machinery, then a person goes through the horrors of it. Whatever it is that we grasp, by that, all of the difficulties are to be found. Mara is an individual that is powerful, demonic god, but Mara also refers to death in general, or just all of the misery that could be out there. And so it's kind of like the name Mara could be thrown around as sort of a way of saying, misery incarnate, or consequences incarnate, pursues them right there. That's such a powerful image. Whatever it is that you're hanging on to is the very thing by which you get hurt. So hang on, let me stop share. Okay. There was an incident one time when a man was grieving his son who had passed, and the Buddha said, "Oh, your hair is wet," and so forth. You're grieving, and the man said that he had lost his son, and the Buddha said, "So it is. So it is. Those we love bring suffering." And the man got very angry. He said, "No, the ones we love are what bring us happiness." And he went off criticizing the Buddha, and people were kind of incensed by the Buddha's comment, and it became a big thing, people debating and arguing. And the king heard it, and he made a deprecating comment about it. And his queen, Malika, very faithfully commented, if the Buddha said it, it must be true. The king was so irritated that he said for her to get out of his sight. So she sent word to the Buddha asking what he had meant by that. And so the Buddha explained how it's, the loss of that that person, the interruption of your ability to be with them, not those words, but to that effect, brings so much misery. And so then she approached the king saying, dear, do you love our daughter? Oh yes, she's very dear to me. So if there any change in her, any big alteration in how she is, would that be a source of grief for you? Oh, very much so. And you like this city, I think it was Benares, but you appreciate that city that we own. Oh yes. So if there was a big change to it, then that would cause you grief. Oh yes, very much. And so then she was able to bring it home to him that that's what the Buddha was talking about. Wherever it is that we're hanging on, that's where we're in pain. When I'm teaching some Buddhist basics to youth, I often use a image that I came up with of, imagine that we're all visiting the home of a couple of sisters, and they each had inherited a very gorgeous museum piece, museum-worthy vase from, say, the Ming Dynasty. And they each have placed them up on the fireplace mantle. And there's just enough room on that mantle for the cat to walk back and forth behind these vases. So we've appreciated the vases. They're so beautiful. One of the sisters, Sister A, Alice, says, oh, this vase has been in our family for so many generations. And I'm going to hand it down to my child, who's going to hand it down to hers and hers and hers and hers. And it's going to be in our family forever. It's the most wonderful thing I have. It's more dear to me than life. The other one says, Sister B, Betty, says, this thing has somehow managed to exist all these centuries, and who knows, it could break tomorrow. I've had the good fortune of owning it, but who owns anything? It's here. And so we admire them, we go outside, and we hear a terrible, sickening crash. And then the cat comes running out of the room, boom, 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 runs out the room. And then we hear weeping and wailing. Then I ask the young people, which sister's vase got broken? And they're always able to answer it. What do you think?
Alice.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's back up and let's say what happens is that we hear the sickening crash. The cat comes bounding out of the room. And then there's just silence. And then we hear the sound of ceramic pieces being swept into the dustpan. Whose vase broke? Nay, can you humor me again?
B.
Betty.
Betty.
How do we know that? How do we know? I didn't tell you whose vase broke. I just told you who went into such extreme suffering and who didn't. Right? And by that, you know which vase it was, because the one who was lacking wisdom as to the impermanence and who was lacking wisdom and fully attached, that is the one whose heart breaks when the object breaks. And the one who understands impermanence and has that bit of a buffer of recognizing that nothing will be there forever, that is the one whose heart does not break when the object breaks. That is that very thing that we're hanging on to. We'll have that pain. And but the very act of hanging on is fueling our samsaric journey. Another trick question I use with young people, I say, let's imagine that you've created an enormous bonfire, so big you can put an entire tree on top of this bonfire. How long is this bonfire going to burn? How can they possibly know that, right? They say, how long is this bonfire going to burn? And I press them and they don't know. Then I say, as long as you keep putting fuel on there. As long as you keep putting trees, tree trunks, wood, anything that burns, as long as you put anything onto that fire, it will continue. But if you cease to put any further fuel onto the fire, it will eventually die down. It will eventually die out. Right now, we are very busy maintaining our unenlightenment, like nurturing a bonfire. With everything or being or situation we fully grasp without wisdom, we're tossing another enormous log onto the fire. We're keeping the life after life after life situation going. We are very busily working hard to never, ever, ever not be here. We work very hard to maintain our grasping, to hang on to our attachments, whether meaning the items of attachment or meaning hanging on to the fact of being attached so that we never have the fear of not being. Right, Michael? I love that angle. Thank you. So let a mindful mendicant who understands not grasp anything in all the world. Because of observing that and clinging to attachments, these people cling to the domain of death. Now that's some tough wording. This last bit should offend a lot of people. In clinging to attachments, these people cling to the domain of death. That's almost like fighting words for some people. Like if you don't want to hear that. For one thing, if you're getting into Buddhism because you just want to feel better, this is not a good remedy. Like, no, don't go there. Just ignore this entire part of this teaching. If you're just trying to feel better, just want out of the depression, you really actually need to hang on to certain things skillfully to get up out of that. And this is not the right medicine for the moment. But if you're not in that situation, you're in a balanced, healthy situation where you can look hard at reality, no matter where it takes you, then seeing that whatever you're clinging to is clinging to the domain of death could be very powerful for insight. There's a quote of a bhikkhuni who said to the effect that that it's only suffering that arises, only suffering that passes away. Again, probably for the average person who, or around us, who coming across these teachings, hearing that, it'd probably be like, okay, I'm done. Like, no, because this is not going to help with anxiety and depression and so forth. It's just going to really complicate matters. For some people who have been working with this material a while, and this was supposed to be a beginner's teaching, but anyway, for someone who's been working with the material for a while, this teaching is like a glass of cool water on a hot day. It's like or cool cloth to the forehead. It's like, oh yeah, so clear, so clean, such a beautiful teaching that's not kind of tap dancing around the hard truths. But if that's not where you're at, just forget it. Don't worry about it. Do what you need to do to be okay, in this moment in the samsaric journey. And maybe later someday you might like to look into this kind of stuff and see if there's something to it. But you're really here, you really matter, what you do really matters. Whatever you're doing by body, speech, and mind is creating the springboard of your next moments. And there's huge amount of agency and there's huge amount of power available to us as we learn to tap into it. Power for letting go of ways that we hurt ourselves without noticing it, without having known it. We can kind of uncover the mysteries of how we make ourselves miserable and knock it off and do it less and less. And get to where life is so much easier and our minds can be bright and shining. And then we can look at the scary stuff. Once the mind is bright and shining, go for it. Until then, no, forget it. I didn't say it. Like, pretend it didn't happen. Pretend that part of the teaching didn't happen. But it does, at any stage of development, it does help, I think, to know that where we're crazy grasping is going to have crazy pain. That's good for all of us to know, I think. Crazy grasping, crazy pain. Hold everything lightly. You know, there are three ways to be involved with an object or a being or a loved one or whatever. And one way is like this, hanging on to it, give me. And one is like this, just get away from me. Ugh. And one is like this, being held peacefully in your hands. And if you're dealing with someone who loves you, but they tend to grab you, is that comfortable? Never. Or they tend to push you. It's extremely uncomfortable, very painful. But if they hold you like this, you can flourish within that relationship. And so everything in our lives, we can think of like that. Grabbing, not so good. Pushing, worse. But just beautifully letting it be, being with it, being with, peacefully, supporting well, but not clamping down and being controlling. Sutta I mentioned with the king and the queen, that is Middle Length Discourses, Majjhima Nikaya, or MN 87.